Hello friends, I'm George, the nice smelling gentleman. Welcome back to the channel guys, I hope that all of you are doing well. Today's video is going to be about a brand called Ard Al Zaafaran. It's a Middle Eastern fragrance house that's a little bit underrated in my opinion. They have a huge portfolio of fragrances and I have quite a few of them in my collection. So in this video today I'm going to show you all Ard Al Zaafaran scents in my collection. Before I start showing you the Ard Al Zaafaran fragrances in my collection, just wanted to quickly share a few words about the brand itself. As I said in the opening of the video, the Ard Al Zaafaran company comes from the Middle East, so it's yet another Middle Eastern fragrance brand, but it's not that well known, especially lately considering the boom of interest when it comes to Middle Eastern scents. They're mainly focused on doing clone fragrances, but they also have quite a few original creations and some heavy twists on some original scents. They have a huge portfolio of fragrances and their prices tend to be very cheap. So with that out of the way, I'm going to start showing you the fragrances, the Ard Al Zaafaran scents from my collection, and I have a total of 11 of them. I'll start with a few scents from one of Ard Al Zaafaran's sub-brands that's called Mega Collection. I have a total of 3 scents from that Mega Collection. They actually have quite a few scents in that collection, from that sub-brand. And all the fragrances from the Mega Collection are actually straight up clones of original designer and niche scents. They're copying the scent itself and they're also copying the bottle design. The first one that I'm going to show you from the Mega Collection is called Alhum Home Sport. And probably by looking at the bottle design and the name of this fragrance, you can already tell that this is a clone of Chanel's ALHUR Home Sport. Now, all scents from this Mega Collection that I have and that I have tried, actually scent-wise, are very decent, scents, very decent fragrances. But one thing that at least in my opinion, they all have in common, apart from the fact that they're nice scents and nice copies of the original scents, is the fact that they lack a little bit on the performance front. Alhum Home Sport is a very good scent-wise, a very good clone of ALHUR Home Sport from Chanel, but it just tends to be an underperforming fragrance. The next one that I'm going to show you is called Victory Aries, and again, judging, probably looking at the bottle, you already know that this is a clone of Versace's Eros, and in this case it's a clone of Eros EDP. Again, scent-wise, it's actually surprisingly nicely done. This fragrance also lacks, the performance that you get out of the original fragrance and some of, the Eros's clones. But at least compared to Alhum Home Sport, this has slightly better performance. Again, price tag is super cheap, and the only con is the lack of performance. And the third fragrance from the Mega Collection that I own, that I have in my collection, is called Tobacco Intense. And again, looking at the bottle, you probably already can guess that this fragrance is a clone of Carolina Herrera's Mystery Tobacco. Another scent that, scent-wise is actually pretty decent, although it has a horrible sprayer. But, again, it lacks the performance. It lacks a bit of the spiciness that you get out of the original scent as well. This feels like a little bit a darker take on the original DNA. It's the best performing fragrance out of the 3 from the Mega Collection that I have. Price-wise, again, it's very cheap, but probably because of the the lack of performance on all 3 of them, I would not recommend going and buying any of the Mega Collection fragrances. So the third fragrance, Ard Al Zaafaran fragrance in this video from the Mega Collection, Tobacco Intense. Okay, now I'm done with the sub-brands of Ard Al Zaafaran. Now let's move to the real Ard Al Zaafaran scents. The first one that I'm going to show you is called Waffa. It comes in this very heavy and very nice and luxuriously feeling bottle. You get a metallic cap. And the whole presentation actually is very lavish and very good. Now this fragrance is not a direct clone of anything, but it's like a twist on Kilian's Black Phantom DNA. It feels a little bit darker compared to Black Phantom, a little bit sweeter on the dry down, a little bit more spicy. Also the opening here, which is my least favorite part of this scent. Feels a little bit green to my nose, and I'm not really a huge fan of green notes in fragrances usually, and especially the way that it's been done here. It's not really up to my taste, but the dry down is actually very nice. It's quite a dark, spicy, woody, sweet scent. I pick up a touch of a booziness in here as well. Performance here is pretty good. Projection is pretty good. Again, as I said, you get a very lavish presentation, a great looking bottle, and the price tag is pretty low usually. At least in my part of the world, this fragrance costs around about the 20 to 25 euro mark. So it's a nice take on the Black Phantom DNA for very, very cheap. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you is probably one of their best known scents, one of the best known fragrances from this fragrance house, or maybe even the best known fragrance, and it's called Oud 24 Hours. And this fragrance is a great clone, or maybe even one of the best clones of Tom Ford's Black Orchid. It's really, really nicely done. I can't believe how good of a job Ard Al Zaafaran have done with copying the original scent at the price point that this is usually selling. You get that very sweet chocolatey opening of the original scent. The dry down, is spicy, woody, slightly smoky with lots of ambery sweetness as well. Very, very close to the original scent, impressively close. Performance here is also great, almost as good as you get with the original, and probably even on par with the original, the current formulations of the original fragrance. And the best thing out of all is the fact that this is super, super cheap. I paid about 15 euros, I think even less than 15 euros to get the Oud 24 Hours. So if you're looking for a very inexpensive but at the same time superb clone of Tom Ford's Black Orchid, then definitely check out Oud 24 Hours from Ard Al Zaafaran. Next, I'm going to show you a couple of freshies from Ard Al Zaafaran. The first one is called Jazup, or Jazup Silver as it's sold in some places. This fragrance is a clone of Armani's Acqua di Gio Profumo. Now, to my nose, it's like a mix between the OG Acqua di Gio and Acqua di Gio Profumo. It lacks a bit of that incensey vibe that you get out of Profumo, but still feels a little bit closer to Profumo than the OG, although has a bit of the freshness of the original fragrance. It comes nicely packaged. The bottle from afar looks interesting, but up close it's quite plasticky and doesn't feel of a very high quality. Performance here is about average, as you can expect from a clone of a fresh fragrance. The original scents have never been known for their great performance. Price tag again super, super low. So if you're looking for a very inexpensive clone of Acqua di Gio Profumo, then you can check out Jazup Silver. The next freshie that I'm going to show you out of the house of Ard Al Zaafaran is again a clone of Chanel's Allure Homme Sport, although this is more like a twist on the original DNA. The fragrance is called Al Dirgham Limited Edition, comes in this gold colored bottle, and this fragrance is actually a very, very nice clone of the original scent. It's not a straight up clone, this has more of a twist. It feels sweeter, it has more vanillic sweetness, also has more muskiness compared to the original scent. It's a really interesting take on that DNA. Has absolutely fantastic performance when you consider that this is actually a fresh fragrance, outlasts the original fragrance no problem, and it's again very, very cheap. Usually tend to cost around about the 20 euro mark. And another great thing about this fragrance is the fact that at least in my box it came with a secondary bottle, small travel size bottle that has a size of 20 milliliters. So you're basically getting 120 milliliters of juice for the price of around about 20 euros. The next fragrance that I'm going to show you out of the house of Ard Al Zaafaran is yet another fantastic clone that's done great, and at the same time has a very, very low price tag, and it's called Midnight Oud. Now, my bottle looks like this. All the bottles that you can get out of this fragrance, they have the same bottle design, but I've noticed that the cap design can vary wildly. There are at least 3 or 4 different cap designs using the same bottle. All of them are original scents. For some reason, you know, Ard Al Zaafaran seem to constantly, you know, changing, seems to be constantly changing the, you know, the cap design of this fragrance, but the juice inside is all the same, and it's an absolutely fantastic clone of Amouage's Interlude, man. It's, believe me when I'm saying this, it's very close to the original scent. You get that green, spicy, you know, warm scent profile that has a strong agar-oud note, has a strong leather note, has quite a lot of amber sweetness on the dry down. A very interesting scent. Now, the original scent can be a bit challenging for some people out there, but I absolutely love the original DNA, and I absolutely love, you know, the way that Midnight Oud comes across. As I said, Ard Al Zaafaran have done a fantastic job at copying the original scent. Also, you know, performance-wise, this thing is a beast of a performer. It's not as good as the original scent, you know, the original scent is out of this world when it comes to performance, but this still on its own is a fantastic performer, lasts over 10 hours on skin without any problem. The next one that I'm going to show you is yet another gem from, you know, this house. This is very underrated scent and definitely deserves more attention, and it's called TAAK Car. Now, this is one of those fragrances that are not a straight up clone of anything, they're more like a twist, and the you know, the scent in here copies to some degree the scent of Parfum de Marly's Carlisle. Especially in the opening, this is quite similar to Carlisle. You get that spicy, boozy, sweet apple note that you get in Carlisle, and it's quite similar in the opening. The dry down goes in a little bit of a different direction. It's not as sweet as Carlisle. This feels a little bit more spicy, a little bit more woody, but on its own, it's a very nice, you know, cold weather scent, and I absolutely love TAAK Car. Performance is above average, not as good as the original fragrance, but still, you know, it can hold its own when it comes to performance. And again, another very cheap fragrance that usually costs around about the €15 mark. The next Ard Al Zaafaran fragrance that I'm going to show in this video is yet another great clone out of this house and yet another hidden gem of a fragrance, and it's called Oud 24 Hours Majestic Goat. This fragrance is a great clone of Armani's Stronger With You leather. You get that very warm, very sweet scent profile that you get out of the original fragrance, out of the, you know, the Stronger With You line. You have some added sweetness from a nice plum note. You get some, you know, added woodiness from an agar-oud note that's actually done very nicely. It's not animalic at all, not challenging at all. Very nicely blended, and you get a very high quality and strong leather note in this fragrance. It's blended absolutely fantastic. It's super close to the original scent. It has great performance, and it's a great cold weather fragrance. And the last fragrance from Ard Al Zaafaran that I'm going to show in this video today is the newest scent from them in my collection, that I got in my collection, and it's called ALHUR So Intense. And this fragrance is a very interesting mix of two very popular DNAs. Now, Ard Al Zaafaran have taken on one hand the DNA of Dior Sauvage Elixir, and on the other hand the DNA of Bleu de Chanel EDP, and they have mixed it up together. The opening is like 90% Sauvage Elixir, 10% you know, Bleu de Chanel EDP. You get that spicy, warm opening that you get out of Dior Sauvage Elixir, although this feels a little bit less spicy, slightly sweeter compared to the original scent. And then on the dry down, this takes a little bit of a different of a turn, you know. The dry down to me is like 65% Dior Sauvage Elixir and 35% you know, Bleu de Chanel EDP. The opening is the dry down is a little bit more woody, a little bit more creamy compared to the original Sauvage Elixir, leaning a little bit to the Bleu de Chanel side. It's a very interesting mix. So far, performance-wise, this is, you know, I'm still testing this one out, but it seems to be a pretty decent performer. It's a very versatile fragrance, and it's a compliment getter. So if that mix sounds interesting to you, you know, Dior Sauvage Elixir and Bleu de Chanel EDP, then you can check out ALHUR So Intense. So guys, in today's video, I showed you all 11 Ard Al Zaafaran fragrances that I have in my collection. I hope that you found this video interesting. If you did, give it a like, and I also hope that you're going to join me in the next one. And until then, stay safe and bye bye.